want to give you a heartfelt and serious warning before you listen to this episode of The Cure for the Common Struggle. In this episode and in every episode, I have but one simple goal, and that is to get you to take the first step or the next step. In essence, get started from where you are and do it without shame. And in this episode, I'm interviewing a man who started from a place far worse than where you are today and has excelled and exceeded 75, maybe 80% of the population in this country, the life he's living today. The warning is this person will take away every excuse, every reason, every justification you have for not getting started on your journey to the better life you want. He exemplifies the cure for the common struggle. And so, if you are ready and you're willing to admit that you are
stuck, a Dulaneyism that describes you if you're frustrated because your results do not match your talents and abilities. You, my friend, are stuck if you know what you want. You know what to do to get what you want. And you have what it takes to get what you want. Yet you have very little of what you want because you are, in fact, stuck. I find it interesting that Mark Dulaney is the only trainer I know of that deals with this punishing problem. Won't you join me as Mark creatively portrays the frustration that goes along with being stuck?
Ladies and gentlemen, there are multiple parts to every struggle. There's before struggle, there's what someone does to create a struggle, there's the consequence of the struggle, and then there's the recovery from the struggle, which some people never make, but I want to help you recover from the struggle. And to help you with that, I have a special guest this week. This is my brother. His name's Heath. He lives in Long Island. We're going to talk about his story and his struggle and how he worked through it to what's living what I think is a fairly phenomenal life today. So, brother, how you doing? Say hello and welcome to the Cure for the Common Struggle podcast.
Hello, Mark. How are you? Welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm honored to have you as my first ever guest of this podcast. And I think you have an amazing story that's going to enlighten and help a lot of people see a way to cure their common struggle. So I want to start by asking the question, and that is, tell me about the lowest points or your rock bottom of your struggle.
My lowest rock bottom part of my life is waking up for my first day being in prison, Florida Correctional Society.
All right. So do you remember the date that you were actually arrested?
No, I don't.
Okay. But you remember that day forever?
Yes, for infamy.
Okay. So you spent 6.5 years courtesy of the state of Florida, and then you get released. Now, during your time on vacation is what we call it, something else happened to you that you think is a blessing. Talk about that real quick.
Well, maybe about 6 months into my incarceration, I woke up in the hospital in Jacksonville, Florida, with no knowledge of what happened to me, how I got there. And after months of diagnosis, I hadn't realized I had a coma, 3-month coma. And after another 6 months, they diagnosed me with lupus.
And the benefit of that was what happened?
For the rest of my duration, maybe 5 years, I spent totally in an infirmary, isolated from all the people you see on TV about local crazy criminals in TV. In isolation, infirmary, people sick.
Now, in the past, you've described that as a great blessing from God because you were separated from general population, correct?
Yes, because in Florida prisons, like Texas prisons, it is what you see on TV. Knives and everything, sneaking cell phones, and the prisons run the territory. God's just there as a figurehead. So anything could happen to me any given day. Your safety is, there's no safety in prison.
Okay. And then so you went through your vacation period and you got released. Do you remember the date you were released?
Not offhand. Sometime, not, I won't say I don't know offhand. No.
Okay. And a part of that is the stroke and the lupus, correct?
Correct.
So now you get released, you come home, you move with mom and dad. Talk about life after vacation.
Well, I came home to mom and dad in a wheelchair, could barely walk, had nothing, basically penniless, just the clothes on my back. So I had to go through the process of what most people do coming home from prison, go through the process of reacclimating yourself, getting a driver's license, applying for social services and all those things, and getting what the government dispenses to you, and just coming out a whole new society. There was no cell phones really when I went back, there was modern cell phones, no basic internet. I mean, things are a whole new world when you come out of prison. Things that weren't there when you got there, now they're there. You have to acclimate yourself to the whole society.
Okay. And you also had your criminal record, you had health problems. So you were really starting kind of like life all over again with really
In a negative. In a negative.
In a negative. Okay. Talk about your life before the struggle. Like you were living a really good life, at least appearances. Talk about life before the day you were arrested.
Oh, it was the exact opposite. God turned me on a 180. I had more money than I can count, travel everywhere I wanted to go, 3 or 4 brand new cars at my disposal, 3 or 4 houses, women, I had the superstars, like the basketball lifestyle. And in an instant, a snap of a finger, it all vanished. And you have to go into incarceration with nothing. You have to pay $20 for a candy bar if they allowed you to buy it.
So you said something interesting that I really want to talk about right now, which is the really next question. You said it a snap of a finger, but in reality, it wasn't the snap of a finger, was it? You had thought. So one of the premier premises of this show is that we habitually have thoughts, choices, actions, words, and questions that determine our lives. And so one day you were at the top of the world, and then something changed that got you into that vacation period. Talk about what happened that actually took you from top of the world to that day when you were finally arrested.
During the course of running my business, I had the increased desire to make more money, which involved bringing people into my circle who I wouldn't ordinarily do under ordinary circumstances.
So I just want to stop. So the first thought was more money, more money. That was your thought.
Yes.
And as a result of those thoughts, you made choices to bring people in that if it wasn't for the more money, you wouldn't have done it. Did I get that correct?
Correct.
And then you took actions. You actually hired people and you did other things. Talk about some of the other things you did or that happened that caused the struggle.
I increased the scope of my business. I took my eye off the ball on many occasions. I made deals I wouldn't normally make, especially with people I wouldn't normally make. And I didn't monitor my business as more detail I did in the beginning. I was involved in every transaction, every signature in the early stages. But it got to the point where, human greed took over. I didn't sign my name where I should to. I didn't read everything as I should. And I lost control of the scope of my business.
Okay. So in your case, you're going to just say it was greed, and I get that. And so greed happened. You go on vacation, you come home, and we talked about your status. You have a criminal record, you have no money, you have a low income, you have health problems, and that is I can understand between which do you think is the lower point in your life? Getting arrested, waking up in prison one day, or being home but in the situation we just described? Which felt worse to you, if you can remember?
Being in prison.
Being in prison. Okay.
Yes.
I can feel that. But once you're in prison, there's very little you can do. You just have to wait till you're released. And so you woke up one day at home, you looked at your life. What sparked the change that led to the results you have now?
I knew I wasn't destined to be where I was when I woke up in mom's house. I knew that was not me.
Okay, so that's a thought, right?
Yes.
That's a thought that triggered choices, action. So let's talk about where you are now so we can show how you got there. So you went from being home alone, barely able to walk, very small income. Talk about your life today.
My walking is increased tremendously. I don't need a cane or a walker. I go to the gym to maintain that. I have a job. I have a family. We've been in the house for almost 3 years. I get a brand new car every couple of years. My bank account is shows substantially. I'm investing in stocks. I'm doing all kinds of things to get back to where I was, but not on the scale.
So I just want to just make sure you're clear. So in when you were released, health problems, could barely walk, low income. I think in a previous conversation you said you were making $700 a month plus food stamps to cover everything that you had to pay for. You were alone. You had no prospects for a relationship. And today you're married. You have two kind of adopted children that came with the marriage. You're living in I think you told me once it was a $500,000 house in Long Island.
Yes.
And you invested in stocks. You did Bitcoin. You've done a lot, brother. I hope you're proud of yourself. That's quite an accomplishment from where you were to where you are now. How long have you been out of approximately?
2011, February 1st to February 1st, 2011.
Okay. And you got married in what year?
2022, my birthday, September 5th.
I won't tell your wife that you had to think about it. We'll take that part out and make it seem like you knew it off the top of your head. But anyway, congratulations on it's an amazing accomplishment. So let's talk about, you had a thought. You said, I was meant to do better than this. That was the first thought that you had, right? I'm not going to live my life like this. So within what choices, what kind of decisions did you make? How did you, for example, what was the decision you made that led to your wife?
When I came home, all I had was the two best friends, and besides my family, two best friends since high school. I kept in contact with them. They kept me motivated, inspired, and I just went through like most guys do. Went through your Rolodex, contact all your old girlfriends who you can spark an interest with.
Okay, so I just want to talk about the power of associations, because that's another thing but you associated with people who kept you motivated, and I know our father pushed you by making you pay rent. So you knew you couldn't even have your entire budget. That had to be motivating. And I don't care who you are, when you're in your 40s, you do not want to live under your parents.
Correct.
So you had all these motivations, but you acted on them. So go back to the choice you made. How'd you meet your future wife?
Well, like I said, I contacted a lot of old girlfriends just to spark the interest, and come to find out, 90% of them knew where I was on vacation. I guess the internet was ablaze back then. When they go research, everybody's research their old boyfriends and girlfriends, and most of them knew I was on vacation, which didn't surprise me. None of them gave me a cold shoulder. It's just I sparked the conversation, and then this is one person I've dated for when I was my old friend's job, and I contacted her. She actually was trying to find me, but didn't know I was on vacation. So we sparked a couple of conversations, and she told me she has two children, and she's always thought about me and looked for me also, but couldn't find me.
So what you did there was you took an action. Instead of hoping that something worked itself out, you took a positive action to reach out to these different women, but you found the one that was ultimately meant for you, correct?
Correct.
You also now talked about you invested in stocks. How'd you get from a $700 a month income minus at least $200 for rent and other expenses to where you could invest in the stocks? What was your thoughts, choices, and actions that led to that?
Well, it's always was in me. Because like I said, when I was even before my vacation, I was always looking for multiple streams of income. And I never lost that. Certain thing that my father always told me, you can't take your education, nothing they can take from you. They can take everything, your health, everything, but they can't take your education. And that was part of my education. You have $1, how do you make that $2 out of that $1? So I went from saving all my money, and $700 is not a lot of money, but if it's all you have, you got to make it more a lot of money. So I saved a little bit of money here, opened up a secure credit card, established my credit. One of the first things I did when I got established, I ordered my credit report to see where I was at. We'll see what I'll be able to do in the future. And I built upon that, got me a bank account, and I started getting my penny stocks. I changed my situation, didn't change my attitude about life.
Okay.
Make something out of nothing.
So I want to ask you a question. Someone listening to us right now, maybe they don't have the incarceration or the health problems, but they don't make a lot of money. and they kind of feel like I'm stuck because I don't make a lot of money. What advice would you give that person from where you were when you were in that situation?
I think that you have to prepare yourself to be a millionaire when you're not a millionaire. Act like, spend like, smart, think like a millionaire. Put yourself in the millionaire space so when you become a millionaire, you know how to, you can adapt and acclimate it. So there's penny stocks. There's always way to make money. Don't look at the billionaires. Just do something small. Start small and everything to gradually grow. Crawl before you walk. I did penny stocks before I did regular stocks. I did something positive every day to get me to where I was at.
Okay. And if someone can't do stocks, they can still save their money for...
Save your money.
Save your money.
Save a lot. I saved a lot of money with $7 a month plus paying rent.
So what was your thought process? I mean, you were this very successful guy with the cars, the houses, which made you extremely attractive to women. Now you're home. You have all these things against you. What was your mindset and thought processes about getting back into a relationship with someone?
Become more humble. I was always told I had a very nice personality, and the money didn't change my personality, just made me more arrogant. So now I'm gonna come back still the same humble person. So prior to having money, I was still a very humble, charismatic person, kind of person. But having the money just made me arrogant and humble. Not arrogant, just made me arrogant. So the girls I got prior to vacation wasn't because of my personality, because of the money. So I had to go back to basics, being humble.
Okay. And so that obviously worked with this one young lady, obviously.
Yes.
And by the way, I just want to say this. You definitely took a major step up from what I would think a guy like you could get at that time. You married very, very well.
You made note of that quite a few times, I know.
And I'm working on the same thing with my lady now. I have someone who's way above my where I feel I'm in life. But so we talked about finances. We talked about relationships. What other changes came about in your life as a result of going through the struggle? And how did you think and make decisions, and what actions you take to get out of it so you live the life you're living today?
I've become a whole lot more prudent in my spending, and I think I've been a whole lot more gracious and giving people grace about certain things. I try to help people along in areas of their life as long as they're willing to understand. I don't expect anything out of the information I give them, just to use it. And in some areas, I think I've lost a lot of patience because people ask for help, but they don't want to take the steps in which I'm directing them. Kind of, like I said, people ask me, how you getting stocked? And I try to tell them what to do. And 2 weeks later, I call how they're doing. Oh, I don't want to do it. And I've kind of lost a lot of patience in that. I guess people don't take the, I want to edit this out. I lost a lot of patience. People, everybody wants to get rich, but they don't want to do the work.
No, I think that's a very excellent point. I think that everybody in a struggle wants to be out of struggle. Very few people want to do what is required to end their struggle. Would you agree with that?
I guess that's what I'm trying to make it. Yes. They want it to happen overnight.
Right. And so everybody's looking for this magic get rich quick thing that's going to ultimately solve their problem, as opposed to taking the slow daily approach to growing. And if you can only start with saving a penny a day gets you to 2 pennies and 3 pennies and then $1. But everybody is really into the instant. So one of the things that leads to struggle, so I have this saying, I'll say it this way. How to stay broke. Do you know how to stay broke, Heath, my brother?
No.
Keep doing what you're doing because you're broke. So whatever you did to be broke, keep doing it. If you don't want to be broke anymore, stop doing what you're doing. You have to do something different. I asked a question of people. How do you keep a bad marriage? Both of you keep doing what you're doing. You'll keep having a bad marriage until you get divorced. I think it's true in life. I look at people, their bodies, they're overweight, they're out of shape, they can barely walk up a flight of stairs. How do you stay like that? Keep doing what you're doing. So in light of that, what would you say to someone to say, you got to change? Just repeat what I say it in your own words. Change only comes when a person changes.
I agree.
Right.
I think you need to take someone's advice who you truly respect. And I think that's the most key component of anything. Whoever you take advice from, it's got to be somebody you respect. if you don't kind of have a lot of, I'm not saying worship them. You got to respect it. And they believe you have your best interest at heart, because people are more likely to believe you and take respect what you say if they know you have your best interest at heart. People try to sell you stuff all over on TV. They don't really care about you. You're just a product. You're just a person that pays your income. Take someone you believe and have respect for and has your best interest at heart. Take what they say to heart and follow it day by day in your path.
And can I say, add to that, find someone who you want to be like and do what they did to create it.
Yes.
Don't live like they live after they create the money. Do what they did to create the money. One of the themes of this show is I'm 2 or 3 steps ahead of the person listening to me in terms of going on a journey to create the life that we want. But what happens is the big time gurus, they sell you on what they're doing now. They don't really sell you on what they did from their humble beginnings. They sell you this magical strategy, but the secret is what you do every day to get started, to build that momentum. Which is why I have a podcast that probably has very few people listening at the time it's being recorded, but over time it will grow if I keep having great guests like you, brother.
I agree. They don't tell you the struggle, class. That's not entertaining. What they did every day. That's kind of boring. They want to see, oh, I got the plane. Okay, tell me about that. That's tantalizing. But I agree, the struggle they do every day, that's not really entertaining.
Especially the stuff they did to get started. Like, I think what you're doing today is good to keep what you have. Well, what you did back in your darkest moments to say, I'm going to call women, I'm going to find someone, I'm going to start investing as best I can in penny stocks and all the stuff that you did, the stuff you're still doing to kind of maintain. But what you did from your lowest point has to happen in order to get to these good points today. And I just want people to understand that. If they get nothing else from this interview with you, brother, I want them to understand that.
You can't stop doing it. It's a gradual process every day. If you stop, when you like a shark, you slow down, you die.
Any other advice for someone, something else that I didn't know to ask you about your journey, whether it's while you're at the top that caused you to fall, whether it was your time mired in the struggle, whether it was how you ended the struggle, or whether it's life now that you've ended your struggles and you're moving forward. Any last advice you would give to someone in a situation where it seems hopeless?
I think you have to have your foundation set on God. Someone you can call upon when nobody is around you, nobody will listen, nobody's there to hear. I believe you have to be founded in God, because He's open 24 hours a day. And He's got me through my darkest points, even today. Sometimes I sit there and pray. You can't talk about your mother, your wife, your girlfriend, about everything. It was me. God is always there to listen to me. I'm not how God, when the person you're listening to this podcast, I'm not sure what God is in your life. But from me, my point of view, God has got me through my darkest points, and it still does.
And I think that's excellent, brother. The last thing I want to ask you, and this is truly my last question, unless I think of another one, and that is, what are you struggling with today? Because I don't want to paint the picture that life's perfect. So what are some of the things you struggle with today, and how are you dealing with those to move on from this level of struggle you have in your life?
I don't know if it's a struggle, just trying to maintain my focus, because life is full of distractions, and you have to be in a situation where you block out the noise, because everybody doesn't have your same goal and path you want to do. You got to stay focused regardless, whether it's your wife, your kids, whoever, your friends. You can't you got to block out the noise. They might be like, let's do this, let's take this trip. If it's not part of your plan, if their plan is not part of your plan, don't make their plan your plan.
So don't keep up with the Joneses and spend your money because everyone else is spending their money.
It's an easy play. You got to figure you can afford it. Doesn't mean I can want to spend it, because they want you to be where they're at.
And so you also face struggles with your body. Sometimes your balance isn't what it used to be. You want to speak to that, how life today is going because of what's going on with your body? And the limitations from the lupus?
Having lupus and arthritis made my body really feel. Right now I'm suffering with a broken foot. I realize with these infirmities, your body doesn't heal as quickly as it does. So right now, a broken foot might keep in my feet for like 6 weeks, as opposed to perfectly healthy, maybe 3-4 weeks. So, it's a lot of struggles I go through. I lost the ability to run. I can't run unless I'm on the treadmill. I walk like a steady pace, but never can run. My balance is off. So I mean, I have a job which targets is really, really flexible with my abilities, and I'm blessed to have that. But certain jobs I can never consider myself working because of my inabilities.
Okay. I think that I hope and I pray, and one reason I had you on is I hope you become an inspiration to someone. Like, we always look at the person driving the Mercedes, the Rolls Royce, the stars, the athletes, and it's realistic. We're not going to be like them. But everyday people fight struggles and overcome tremendous things. I would argue with you that what you did to create the success you have now in your life is a greater achievement than a teenage athletic phenom who's going to go off to the NFL or NBA and make millions of dollars. I would argue what you did is way more something that the average person can do. But we look at these stars and we want to be like them, and we don't have that talent ability. But everyone can make the decisions you made. Final thoughts, brother. What advice would you give to someone, again, just say it, ask the same question again. Think about someone where you were. What advice would you give that person who feels like they're hopeless?
Decide where you want to be, and every day take a step in that direction. Whether financially, mentally, or health wise, take a step in that direction and don't look back.
So, how was that? Was I right? Is he not starting from a place far worse than what you're starting from? And has he exceeded what most people do in terms of creating success in their lives? And he did it in a few years because he did the one thing that matters most. He got started from where he was, and he did it without shame. I want to give you 3 steps to be able to take what you heard today and make sure it's not just another great thing you listened to or read or heard. And as part of the series we do called 3 Steps to Curing One of Your Common Struggles. And so here's the deal. You just heard him talk about his life, and everything was, I just got started. So here's what I want you to do. Step number 1, look at the part of your life you are ready to change. Not the one that needs it, not the one that is the most daunting, but the one you're ready to change because you know you can do this. Pick that area of your life. Pick that struggle. Number 2, what is one thing you can start doing every day to start to cure that common struggle? Just one thing, one simple thing. If it's, for example, if your struggle is your weight, your body, how about just go for a walk every day? That's it. If it's money, how about you create a budget and don't spend anything outside of your budget? If you got a habit with smoking, alcohol, or some form of a narcotic, how about gradually cutting back? Not cold turkey, just one less a day or one little bit less a day. That's step number 2. Step number 1, identify the struggle. Step number 2, make a daily step to do it. And then step number 3 seems so silly and maybe even stupid. Step number 3 is simple. Celebrate what you did. There is amazing power in celebrating. If you go for a 5-minute walk, for example, or if you spend $10 less than you would have, celebrate it. There's this thing called the Elaine Bennis dance. Google it. I'm telling you, celebration makes what you just did feel like a real accomplishment instead of the way you would naturally diminish it. Do those 3 things and you'd be amazed at what you can accomplish. Number 1, identify your struggle. Number 2, pick one thing, one little thing that you can start doing immediately to solve that struggle. And number 3, celebrate what you did. This has been episode 4 of The Cure for the Common Struggle. My name is Mark Dulaney. I am your host and your biggest supporter. I want to see you create the life you truly want to live, but it requires you to do one thing. Get started from where you are. Big thanks to my brother Heath, who lives on that big beautiful house on Long Island with his beautiful wife and family. I'm so proud of you, brother. I just wanted you to know that. I want the world to know how proud I am of what you accomplished. In the next episode, I'm going to literally show you how to solve every problem you're dealing with right now, today. Guaranteed. Catch us in episode number 5.
All I can say is, wow. I told you Mark was unique in his approach. You will never get what you want as long as you are stuck. Is this your time to get unstuck?